At Grandma's 80th, every cousin got a gift bag except me. I smiled, took a selfie, and left early. 2 hours later, my aunt called crying because of what I'd posted with that photo. My name is Sarah, and I'm one of 4 grandchildren in our family. My grandmother, Nana Rose, has always been the matriarch who held our sprawling family together through Sunday dinners, holiday traditions, and her famous chocolate chip cookies that could solve any childhood crisis. Or at least, that's what I thought until I got older and started paying attention to the patterns. See, there's something you need to understand about family dynamics. Sometimes the person everyone thinks is the sweetest, most loving grandmother has a favorite child. And sometimes that favorite child, my Aunt Linda, gets to play by completely different rules than everyone else. Linda is my dad's older sister, and she's what you might call the golden child. At 45, she's established herself as the family coordinator, the one who organizes events and makes decisions for everyone else. She married young to Uncle Mark, had 3 kids, Jessica, Michael, and Tommy, and somehow convinced everyone that she was this amazing mother and daughter who could do no wrong. Meanwhile, my dad worked 2 jobs to support our family after my mom got sick when I was 12. Mom had lupus, which meant she was in and out of hospitals for years. Dad never asked anyone for help because he's proud like that, but it also meant we couldn't always make it to every family gathering or contribute as much to group gifts. I watched my parents struggle to keep up with the family's expectations while dealing with medical bills and Mom's condition. The favoritism wasn't subtle. At Christmas, Linda's kids always got the biggest gifts from Nana. At Easter, they got the best spots for the egg hunt. During summer visits, they got to stay longer and do special activities. But it was always explained away with excuses: well, they live closer, or Linda helps me so much around the house, or my personal favorite, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. I learned early to smile and be grateful for whatever scraps of attention I got. When you're a kid, you just accept that this is how things are. Adults know best, right? Your grandmother loves you, she just shows it differently. Don't be jealous. Be happy for your cousins. But as I got older, the patterns became impossible to ignore. When I graduated high school as valedictorian, Nana gave me a $50 gift card to Target. When Jessica graduated 6 months later with a C average, she got a check for $500 and a weekend trip to New York City with Nana. When I got accepted to college on a partial scholarship, Nana said, "That's nice, dear." When Michael decided to attend community college 2 years later, she threw him a party and paid his first semester's tuition. The message was clear: being responsible, hardworking, and independent meant you got taken for granted. Being Linda's child meant you got rewarded just for existing. I tried talking to my parents about it over the years, but Dad would just say, "That's just how your grandmother is. She means well." Mom, bless her heart, saw it but felt too guilty about her illness to rock the boat. "We can't complain, sweetie. We've had our own struggles, and maybe she's just trying to help where she thinks it's needed most." So I learned to manage my expectations. I showed up at family events with a smile, brought thoughtful gifts, helped clean up, and watched Linda's kids get fawned over while I blended into the background. I told myself it didn't matter because I was building my own life anyway. After college, I got a good job at a marketing firm, moved into my own apartment, and started dating a wonderful guy named David. I was proud of my independence, even if it seemed to make me invisible to my extended family. The less you need from them, the less they think about you, apparently. But the real kicker came 3 years ago at Thanksgiving. I had just gotten engaged to David, and I was excited to share the news with everyone. I waited for a good moment during dinner, and when there was a lull in conversation, I announced that David had proposed. The response was lukewarm congratulations and a quick pivot to asking Jessica about her new job at a salon. Okay, fine. Maybe it wasn't the right moment. But then, literally 10 minutes later, Tommy mentioned that he was thinking about maybe possibly asking his girlfriend to move in with him. Not even an engagement. Just considering cohabitation. The entire table erupted in excitement. Nana started crying happy tears. Linda started planning imaginary future weddings. Everyone wanted to know everything about this girlfriend and when they'd get to meet her and how serious this was getting. I sat there watching my actual engagement get overshadowed by my cousin's hypothetical relationship milestone, and something inside me just shifted. That was when I started documenting things. Not in a creepy way, but I began taking mental notes of the patterns I've been seeing my whole life. And once you start really paying attention to family dynamics with adult eyes, you can't unsee it. Linda's kids could do no wrong, even when they were clearly in the wrong. When Michael got fired from his job for showing up drunk, it was his boss's fault for not understanding that young people make mistakes. When Jessica racked up credit card debt and had to move back home, it was the economy's fault and Nana helped pay off her cards. When Tommy got a DUI, it was just bad luck and everyone rallied around him with support and legal fees. Meanwhile, when I got promoted at work, it barely got mentioned. When David and I bought our first house, Nana's response was, "That's a big mortgage for young people." When we set our wedding date, she complained that it conflicted with Michael's birthday weekend. Michael's birthday. Not his wedding, not his graduation. His birthday weekend. The wedding planning was its own special hell. Linda inserted herself into every decision, usually to advocate for what would be most convenient for her family. The venue I wanted was too far from where they lived. The date I preferred was inconsiderate because Tommy had a softball tournament that month. The menu needed to accommodate Michael's extremely specific dietary preferences that seemed to change weekly. What made it worse was how Linda positioned herself as the family expert on weddings. She planned Jessica's sweet 16 party the year before, and suddenly she was Martha Stewart. Every conversation about my wedding became an opportunity for her to showcase her event planning skills and remind everyone how much she'd done for Jessica's party. When I planned Jessica's party, I made sure to consider everyone's schedules, she'd say when I suggested a Saturday afternoon ceremony. "Maybe you should think about a Friday evening instead? It would be so much more elegant, and Michael wouldn't have to miss his intramural basketball game." The floral arrangements became another battleground. I found a florist I loved who specialized in wildflower arrangements, something rustic and natural that felt like me and David. But Linda insisted we needed something more sophisticated for such an important day. She kept pushing for the florist who'd done Jessica's party, the one who specialized in huge, elaborate centerpieces that cost 3 times what I wanted to spend. "You only get married once," Linda would say, as if I hadn't thought of that. "Don't you want it to be special?" The implication being, of course, that my vision wasn't special enough. That my preferences were somehow inadequate for such an important occasion. Nana backed Linda on everything, of course. "Linda just wants what's best for everyone, dear. She's so good at planning events." It didn't matter that it was my wedding, my money, and my vision. Linda's expertise trumped my preferences every single time. The dress shopping experience was particularly painful. I'd asked my mom, my future mother-in-law, and my maid of honor to come with me, a small, intimate group of the people whose opinions mattered most to me. But somehow Linda found out when we were going and showed up at the bridal shop with Jessica in tow. "I hope you don't mind," Linda announced as she waltzed into the appointment. "Jessica and I were shopping nearby and thought we'd stop by to see how you're doing." Mind? Of course I minded. This was supposed to be a special moment with my closest family members, not a group event where Linda could hold court and offer unsolicited opinions about everything I tried on. And offer opinions she did. Every dress I came out in was met with commentary, "That's nice, but don't you think something with more structure would be more flattering? Or the neckline is a bit plain, isn't it? Jessica's prom dress had such beautiful beading on the bodice." Everything was a comparison to Jessica's prom dress, as if that was the gold standard I should be aspiring to match. When I finally found the dress, a simple, elegant A-line with delicate lace sleeves that made me feel beautiful, Linda's response was lukewarm at best. "It's very understated," she said, which in Linda speak meant boring. "Are you sure you don't want something with a bit more drama? Something that photographs better?" My mom, bless her, spoke up. "Sarah looks absolutely radiant. It's perfect for her." But Linda wasn't done. "I just think for such an important day, you want something that really makes a statement. When Jessica gets married, I'm going to make sure she has a dress that really wows everyone." There it was. My wedding dress selection had become another opportunity for Linda to talk about Jessica's hypothetical future wedding and how much better it would be than mine. I ended up having the wedding I could afford rather than the one I wanted, at a venue that was convenient for everyone else, on a date that worked around 3 different family members' schedules. The flowers were Linda's choice, the menu accommodated Michael's dietary restrictions, and even the music had to be approved by the family committee that Linda had somehow assembled. But despite all the compromises and frustrations, you know what? It was beautiful anyway, because David and I are just happy to be married. We focused on what mattered, our love for each other and our excitement about starting our life together. The wildflowers I'd wanted might have been overruled, but David's vows made me cry happy tears, and our first dance was perfect even though it was to a song Linda had deemed appropriate for all ages. The reception, however, was where Linda's influence really showed. She positioned herself as the unofficial hostess, greeting guests like it was her event, directing the photographer toward the important family shots, and generally orchestrating everything like she was the mother of the bride. Linda's kids all gave speeches at the reception about how they were so happy to officially welcome David to the family, as if they were the ones with the authority to grant that welcome. As if they were the family VIPs and everyone else was just supporting cast. Michael's speech was particularly grating. "David, welcome to the family. We're so excited to have another guy to hang out with during family gatherings. Sarah's always been like a sister to us, so now you're like a brother too." Like a sister to them? I was their actual cousin. We'd grown up together. But somehow in Michael's mind, our family relationship was so casual that it needed to be redefined through marriage. Tommy's speech focused entirely on how David better take good care of our Sarah, as if I was some kind of family property being transferred from one man to another. Jessica at least kept her speech sweet and focused on wishing us happiness, but even hers included several references to our family traditions and how David would need to learn them all. The photo session was another exercise in Linda's event management. She directed the photographer through all the family combinations she wanted captured, always making sure her kids were prominently featured in the important shots. The photos of the bride and groom with grandparents somehow became photos of all the grandchildren with grandparents, with me and David getting lost in the group. "Let's get one of just Nana with all her grandchildren," Linda suggested, positioning herself to arrange everyone. "This is such a special day for the whole family." It was my wedding day, but Linda had managed to make it about the whole extended family's special moment. Even in my own wedding photos, I was just one of 4 grandchildren rather than the bride being celebrated. The final straw should have been Christmas 2 years ago. David and I saved up to get Nana a really nice gift, a custom photo album filled with pictures of the whole family going back decades. I spent hours organizing photos, writing captions, and making sure everyone was represented. It cost me almost $200 and weeks of work. Nana opened it, flipped through a few pages, and said, "Oh, how thoughtful," before setting it aside and moving on to the next gift. Linda's kids had pooled together to get her a generic gift basket from Costco, the kind you can grab off the shelf for $30. Nana practically cried with joy over it. "You kids are so generous. This must have cost you so much. I don't deserve such thoughtful grandchildren." I watched this happen and felt something inside me just break. But I still didn't say anything. I smiled, helped clean up, and went home to tell David that next year we were spending Christmas somewhere else. Which brings us to last weekend and Nana's 80th birthday party. Linda had been planning this party for months, which meant I heard about every single detail through family text chains and phone calls. The venue, the catering, the decorations, the guest list. She appointed herself as the family coordinator and managed every aspect like she was planning a royal wedding. I offered to help multiple times and was told, "Oh, I've got it all handled, but thanks." When I asked what I could contribute, Linda said, "Just bring yourself. That's all Nana wants." So I brought myself, and I also brought a gift I've been working on for weeks, a custom quilt made from fabric pieces that represented different memories I had with Nana. Each square had a little story attached. It took me months to finish and cost more than I probably should have spent, but I wanted to give her something truly meaningful for such a milestone birthday. The party was held at a nice restaurant with a private dining room. About 30 family members were there, all the usual suspects plus some of Nana's friends from church and her book club. Linda had done a beautiful job with the decorations, I'll give her that. There were photos of Nana throughout her life, flowers everywhere, and a gorgeous cake that probably cost more than my monthly grocery budget. Everything was going normally at first. We ate, we talked, people gave speeches about how wonderful Nana was. I gave my speech too, talking about some of my favorite memories with her and how grateful I was to have her as my grandmother. Normal family party stuff. Then came time for gifts. Now, I need to explain something about Linda's gift-giving philosophy. She believes in what she calls group coordination for major events. This means she decides what everyone should contribute to a big group gift, and then usually buys something smaller individually from each family unit. For Nana's 80th, Linda had coordinated a group gift of a Mediterranean cruise. Everyone contributed based on what they could afford, and it was actually a really nice idea. I was happy to be part of it. But apparently, Linda had also prepared individual gift bags for all the grandchildren. These weren't just little token gifts, they were actual gift bags with multiple items inside. I could see them lined up on a side table, each one labeled with a name tag. As the party was winding down, Linda announced that she had a little something for each of the grandchildren as a thank you for being such wonderful grandkids to Nana. She started handing out the bags, one for Jessica, one for Michael, one for Tommy. And then she stopped. I waited, thinking maybe mine was just in a different spot or she was saving it for last. But Linda started cleaning up the empty side table, and it became clear that there wasn't a fourth bag. Now, maybe this was an honest oversight. Maybe Linda genuinely forgot to make me a bag, or maybe she assumed I wouldn't want one since I'm older and married. These things happen, right? But here's the thing, when you've been dealing with a pattern of exclusion your entire life, you develop a pretty good radar for when something is intentional versus accidental. And the way Linda avoided making eye contact with me while she distributed those bags? That wasn't an oversight. Jessica opened her bag and pulled out a beautiful scarf, some expensive hand cream, and a gift card to her favorite store. Michael got a nice wallet, some fancy coffee, and a gift card to a sporting goods store. Tommy got a hoodie from his college, some craft beer, and a gift card to a restaurant. These weren't leftover party favors or random items Linda had lying around. These were thoughtful, personalized gifts that she had clearly put time and effort into selecting for each of them. The college hoodie for Tommy especially showed this wasn't a last-minute decision, she had to have ordered that weeks in advance. And I got nothing. I sat there watching my cousins gush over their gifts, and I felt that familiar childhood feeling of being forgotten wash over me. But this time, instead of just swallowing it and moving on, I felt something else: anger. Pure, clean anger at being treated like I didn't matter. Again. The rational part of my brain tried to talk me down. It's just a gift bag, Sarah. You're a grown woman with your own money. You don't need Linda's handouts. But the part of me that had been that overlooked little girl for 23 years was done being rational. I was done smiling and pretending it was okay to be treated like an afterthought in my own family. But I also knew that if I said something right then and there, I'd be the one who looked bad. I'd be the one making a scene and ruining Nana's special day. Linda would get to play the victim, and I'd be the dramatic, jealous cousin who couldn't handle not getting a gift. So instead, I did what I do best: I smiled. I walked over to where Nana was sitting and gave her a big hug. I told her I loved her and that I hoped she had the most wonderful time on her cruise. I thanked Linda for organizing such a beautiful party and told her she'd done an amazing job. And then I asked Jessica if she'd take a photo of me with Nana. Of course, Jessica said, always happy to help with photos. She took several shots of me and Nana together, both of us smiling. In the background, you could see the side table where the gift bags had been, and you could see my cousins holding their bags. These are perfect, I told Jessica. Thank you so much. Then I gathered my things, gave everyone hugs goodbye, and told them I had to leave early because David and I had dinner plans. This wasn't true, David was at home watching Netflix, but it gave me a graceful exit. Oh, leaving already? Linda asked, and I swear I detected just the tiniest bit of satisfaction in her voice. She was pleased that her little power play had worked exactly as intended. Yes, unfortunately, I said, still smiling. Thank you again for such a wonderful party. Nana, I'll call you this week. And I left. I drove home feeling surprisingly calm. The anger was still there, but it had crystallized into something focused and purposeful. I'd spent my entire life letting these people make me feel invisible, and I was done. When I got home, David took one look at my face and asked what had happened. I need to tell you about my family, I said. And I did. I told him everything, all the patterns I'd been seeing for years, all the ways I'd been pushed to the margins, all the times I'd smiled and taken it because that's what was expected of me. David listened to all of it, and when I was done, he was quiet for a long moment. Sarah, he finally said, why didn't you ever tell me how bad it was? Because I didn't want to sound like I was whining, I admitted. And because I kept thinking maybe I was imagining it or being too sensitive. You weren't imagining it, David said firmly. What happened today was deliberate and cruel. I'm sorry I didn't see it before. We talked for a while about what I wanted to do, if anything. David was fully supportive of whatever I decided, including just cutting contact with that part of the family if that's what would make me happiest. But I didn't want to disappear. I wanted them to understand exactly what they'd been doing to me all these years. So I got on my phone and started crafting a Facebook post. I chose the photo Jessica had taken of me and Nana, the one where we're both smiling and you can see the gift bag situation in the background. And I wrote, had such a lovely time celebrating Nana's 80th birthday today. Linda threw a beautiful party and got thoughtful gift bags for all the grandchildren. Well, most of them anyway. Smiley face emoji. It's funny how family traditions work. Some people are always included, and others learn to be grateful for just being invited. But that's okay. I got the most important gift of all, a crystal clear reminder of where I stand. Thanks for the clarity, family. Here's to 80 more years of consistency, heart emoji, #family, #grateful, #birthday party, #traditions. I read it over several times, making sure the tone was perfect. Not obviously angry or bitter, but just pointed enough that anyone reading it would understand exactly what had happened. The kind of post that sounds sweet on the surface but has just enough edge to make people uncomfortable. Then I tagged everyone who had been at the party. David read it over my shoulder. Are you sure you want to post this? I'm sure, I said. And I hit publish. The response was immediate. Within minutes, I had likes and comments from friends who understood exactly what I was saying. My college roommate commented oop, eyes emoji, with the eyes emoji. My coworker who'd heard family stories over the years wrote some families really don't deserve you, girl. David's sister, who'd witnessed some of the family dynamics at our wedding, simply commented say it louder for the people in the back, clapping hands emoji, but the family reactions were even more telling. First, my cousin Tommy liked the post, which made me laugh because he probably didn't even read it carefully. Then Jessica commented it was so good to see you today, heart emoji, a completely neutral response that acknowledged nothing. But the call I was really waiting for came about an hour and a half after I posted. Aunt Linda. She was crying, not sad crying, but angry crying. The kind of crying that comes when someone is furious but trying to sound like the victim. Sarah, honey, what's this Facebook post about? What do you mean, Dad? You know what I mean. The one about gift bags and standing in the family. Oh, that. I was just sharing about Nana's party. There was a long pause. Sarah, did something happen today that upset you? And you know what? I told him. I told him exactly what had happened, and I told him how it was just the latest in a lifetime pattern of being treated like I didn't matter as much as Linda's kids. My dad was quiet for a long time. Finally, he said, I'm sorry, sweetheart. I didn't realize it had gotten that bad. It's always been that bad, Dad. I just stopped talking about it because nobody wanted to hear it. What can I do to fix this? Nothing, Dad. I'm not asking you to fix it. I'm just done pretending it's okay. We talked for a while longer, and by the end of the call, I could tell Dad was really seeing the family dynamics clearly for the first time. Sometimes it takes an outsider's perspective, or in this case, a very public calling out, to make people notice patterns they've been ignoring. Mom called next, and she was crying. Oh, honey, I'm so sorry. I should have said something years ago. I should have stood up for you more. Mom, it's not your fault. You were dealing with your own stuff. That's no excuse. You're my daughter, and I let them treat you like you didn't matter. I'm so sorry. It was actually really healing to have that conversation with my parents. For years, I'd felt like I was going crazy, like maybe I was being too sensitive or imagining the favoritism. Having them acknowledge that it was real and that it was wrong meant everything. Over the next few hours, I got more calls from other family members. Some were supportive, some were confused, and some were clearly calling it Linda's request to try to get me to take the post down. Uncle Mark called and tried the family harmony approach. Can't we all just get along? Why are we fighting over something so small? We're not fighting over something small, I explained. We're addressing a pattern of exclusion that's been going on for decades. The gift bag was just the most recent example. My cousin Jessica called and tried the I had no idea approach. Sarah, I'm so sorry. I didn't even notice that you didn't get a bag. Mom just handed them out and I was excited about mine and wasn't paying attention. Jessica, it's not your fault. You didn't do anything wrong. But I feel terrible. I should have said something. You were enjoying a gift from your mom. That's exactly what you should have been doing. Jessica, to her credit, seemed genuinely upset about the situation. Is there anything I can do to make this better? Just keep being yourself, Jess. This isn't about you. But the most interesting call came from my great-aunt Helen, Nana's sister. Sarah, honey, I saw your Facebook post. Oh. Hi, Aunt Helen. I want you to know that I've been watching this family dynamic for years, and you're absolutely right to call it out. This was not what I was expecting. Really? Really? Linda has been playing favorites with her kids since they were born, and your grandmother has enabled it. I've tried talking to Rose about it before, but she just makes excuses. I didn't know anyone else had noticed. Oh, honey, we've all noticed. Some of us just didn't want to rock the boat. But watching you get overlooked year after year while those other kids got handed everything on a silver platter. It's been hard to watch. Aunt Helen told me that several other family members had been talking about the favoritism for years but felt like they couldn't say anything because Linda and Nana were so close. Your post gave a lot of us permission to finally acknowledge what we've all been seeing, she said. Sometimes it takes someone being brave enough to say the truth out loud before everyone else can admit they see it too. This conversation gave me so much validation. For years, I'd wondered if I was being too sensitive or reading too much into things. Finding out that multiple family members had noticed the same patterns I'd been seeing made me feel like I wasn't crazy. But the call I was really waiting for came about 2 hours after I posted. Aunt Linda. She was crying, not sad crying, but angry crying. The kind of crying that comes when someone is furious but trying to sound like the victim. Sarah, how could you post something like that? On social media where everyone can see it? Post something like what, Aunt Linda? You know exactly what I'm talking about. That passive-aggressive attack on our family. I'm not sure what you mean. I posted about Nana's party and thanked you for organizing it. Don't play dumb with me. You're trying to make me look bad, and you're embarrassing the whole family. By posting about a birthday party? By making it sound like we deliberately excluded you. By making it sound like we don't care about you. And there it was. The admission I'd been waiting for. Did you deliberately exclude me, Aunt Linda? Silence. Because if you didn't, then my post shouldn't bother you. If it was just an innocent oversight, then anyone reading it would assume that's what happened. More silence. But if you did deliberately exclude me, Then I guess my post was pretty accurate, wasn't it? You. You don't understand the family dynamics, Sarah. You don't understand how hard it is to coordinate things for everyone. You're right, I don't understand how hard it is to buy 4 gift bags instead of 3. That does sound incredibly challenging. It's not about the gift bags. Then what is it about, Linda? It's about. It's about knowing your place in this family. It's about not causing drama and making everyone uncomfortable. My place in this family, I repeated. And where exactly is my place, Linda? You know what I mean. No, I really don't. Why don't you explain it to me? But she couldn't, of course. Because saying it out loud would mean admitting that she'd been deliberately treating me as less important than her own children for years. It would mean acknowledging that the favoritism was intentional and cruel. Instead, she tried a different approach. You need to take that post down, Sarah. It's hurting Nana's feelings, and it's making everyone in the family upset. Which part is hurting Nana's feelings? The part where I said I had a lovely time at her party? Or the part where I thanked you for organizing it? You know what part? The part where I mentioned that some grandchildren got gift bags and others didn't? Because that's just factual information, Linda. That's literally what happened. But the way you said it. The way I said it was honest. If honesty makes people uncomfortable, maybe they should examine why that is. Linda tried several more tactics, guilt-tripping me about embarrassing the family, claiming I was being dramatic over just a gift bag, suggesting that I was jealous of my cousins, and finally threatening to have other family members call me to talk sense into me. Feel free to have them call, I said. I'm happy to explain the situation to anyone who's interested. She hung up on me. Over the next few hours, I got calls from several other family members. Some were supportive, some were confused, and some were clearly calling at Linda's request to try to get me to take the post down. Uncle Mark called and tried the family harmony approach. Can't we all just get along? Why are we fighting over something so small? We're not fighting over something small, I explained. We're addressing a pattern of exclusion that's been going on for decades. The gift bag was just the most recent example. My cousin Jessica called and tried the I had no idea approach. Sarah, I'm so sorry. I didn't even notice that you didn't get a bag. Mom just handed them out and I was excited about mine. I wasn't paying attention. Jessica, it's not your fault. You didn't do anything wrong. But I feel terrible. I should have said something. You were enjoying a gift from your mom. That's exactly what you should have been doing. Jessica, to her credit, seemed genuinely upset about the situation. Is there anything I can do to make this better? Just keep being yourself, Jess. This isn't about you. But the most interesting call came from my great-aunt Helen, Nana's sister. Sarah, honey, I saw your Facebook post. Oh. Hi, Aunt Helen. I want you to know that I've been watching this family dynamic for years, and you're absolutely right to call it out. This was not what I was expecting. Really? Really? Linda has been playing favorites with her kids since they were born, and your grandmother has enabled it. I've tried talking to Rose about it before, but she just makes excuses. I didn't know anyone else had noticed. Oh, honey, we've all noticed. Some of us just didn't want to rock the boat. But watching you get overlooked year after year while those other kids got handed everything on a silver platter. It's been hard to watch. Aunt Helen told me that several other family members had been talking about the favoritism for years but felt like they couldn't say anything because Linda and Nana were so close. Your post gave a lot of us permission to finally acknowledge what we've all been seeing, she said. Sometimes it takes someone being brave enough to say the truth out loud before everyone else can admit they see it too. This conversation gave me so much validation. For years, I'd wondered if I was being too sensitive or reading too much into things. Finding out that multiple family members had noticed the same patterns I'd been seeing made me feel like I wasn't crazy. The Facebook post stayed up, and the comments kept coming. Friends, co-workers, David's family, and even some extended family members were supportive. A few people shared their own stories about family favoritism in the comments, and it turned into this really meaningful conversation about family dynamics and how damaging exclusion can be. But the real victory came 3 days later when Nana called me. Sarah, honey, can you come over? I'd like to talk to you. I went to her house the next day, not sure what to expect. Was she going to yell at me for embarrassing the family? Was she going to ask me to take the post down? Was she going to defend Linda's actions? Instead, she was sitting in her living room with my custom quilt spread out on her lap. I've been looking at this quilt you made me, she said. Really looking at it. Reading all the little stories you wrote for each square. I sat down across from her, unsure where this was going. This must have taken you months to make. It did. And each piece has a memory attached to it. Memories of times you and I spent together. Yes. She was quiet for a long moment, running her fingers over the fabric. I read your Facebook post, she said finally. I figured you had. At first, I was upset. I thought you were being dramatic and making something out of nothing. I waited. But then I started thinking about it. And I started paying attention to how I've been treating you compared to how I treat Linda's kids. She looked up at me with tears in her eyes. Sarah, I owe you an apology. A big one. This was not at all what I had expected. I've been taking you for granted because you're independent and capable and you never ask for help. And I've been giving Linda's kids extra attention because they always seem to need it more. Nana? No, let me finish. I thought I was being helpful by giving more to the kids who seemed to struggle more. I thought you were fine on your own and didn't need as much from me. She was crying now. But what I was really doing was punishing you for being responsible. I was treating you like you mattered less because you didn't demand attention the way they did. Nana, you don't have to. Yes, I do. I absolutely do. Because this isn't the first time, is it? This has been going on for years. I nodded, not trusting my voice. And instead of recognizing what a wonderful, thoughtful granddaughter I have, I've been letting Linda convince me that her kids needed more because they were struggling more. But struggling doesn't mean they deserve more love, does it? I never wanted more than them, I said quietly. I just wanted the same. I know, honey. I know. And I'm so sorry it took a Facebook post for me to see it. We talked for 2 hours. Nana asked me to tell her about specific times I'd felt excluded or overlooked, and I did. She listened to all of it without making excuses or defending anyone's actions. What can I do to make this right? She asked finally. I don't need you to make it right, Nana. I just need you to see me going forward. Really see me. I will. I promise I will. She kept the quilt on her lap the entire time we talked, and when I was getting ready to leave, she said, "This is the most thoughtful gift anyone has ever given me. I'm going to put it on my bed so I can see it every day and remember what real love looks like." That conversation changed everything. Not just between me and Nana, but in the whole family dynamic. Word got around that Nana had acknowledged the favoritism and apologized for it. Some family members were supportive of this shift, others were less thrilled. Linda, predictably, was furious that her special status had been called into question. But here's the thing, once you shine a light on a pattern of behavior, it becomes really hard for people to keep pretending it doesn't exist. At the next family gathering, Michael's birthday dinner a few weeks later, I watched Linda try to orchestrate the usual preferential treatment for her kids. But this time, other family members were paying attention. When she tried to seat her kids at the good end of the table, my uncle suggested we just sit wherever. When she tried to monopolize the conversation with updates about her kids' lives, Aunt Helen redirected and asked about my job. Small changes, but meaningful ones. The biggest change came from Nana herself. She started making an effort to include me in ways she never had before. She called me just to chat, not because she needed something. She asked about my work and actually listened to the answers. She started acknowledging my contributions to family gatherings instead of just Linda's. Most importantly, she started recognizing when Linda was playing favorites and gently redirecting the conversation or attention to be more inclusive. It wasn't perfect, 23 years of family dynamics don't change overnight. But it was progress. Linda and I still don't have a great relationship, and probably never will. She's never actually apologized for the years of exclusion, and I don't expect her to. But she can't get away with the blatant favoritism anymore, which is enough for me. My cousins have been interesting to watch through all of this. Tommy, honestly, still seems oblivious to the whole thing. Michael has been a little awkward around me, like he knows something changed but isn't sure what. Jessica, though, has made a real effort to include me more and check in on how I'm feeling at family events. I never realized how left out you must have felt, she told me at Michael's party. I'm really sorry I didn't notice before. You were just being a kid, and then a young adult focused on your own life, I told her. It wasn't your job to manage the family dynamics. Maybe not, but I could have been a better cousin. Jessica and I have actually gotten closer since all this happened, which was an unexpected bonus. The Facebook post itself became a bit of a family legend. Some people thought I was brilliant for calling out the favoritism so publicly. Others thought I went too far and should have handled it privately. But everyone agreed that it was effective. You didn't just burn that bridge, David said admiringly. You burned it so thoroughly that everyone had to acknowledge there was a bridge there in the first place. Looking back, I don't regret posting it. Could I have handled the situation differently? Maybe. Could I have tried talking to Linda or Nana privately first? Probably. But I'd been trying to handle things quietly and diplomatically for 23 years, and it had gotten me nowhere. Sometimes you have to make noise to be heard. The gift bag incident was such a small thing in the grand scheme of life. But it represented something much bigger, A lifetime of being treated like I didn't matter as much as other people. And sometimes the smallest incidents become the breaking point where you finally say enough. I'm not advocating for everyone to air their family drama on social media. But I am saying that there's something powerful about refusing to smile and pretend that unfair treatment is okay. There's something liberating about naming the truth, even when it makes people uncomfortable. Especially when it makes people uncomfortable. My family is far from perfect, and we still have work to do. But for the first time in my life, I feel like I'm actually seen and valued for who I am, not just tolerated because I'm related to them. And that Facebook post? It's still up. Because sometimes the truth needs to stay visible as a reminder of what happens when you finally stop accepting less than you deserve. Nana's 80th birthday party was supposed to be a celebration of her life and legacy. In a way, it ended up being exactly that, just not in the way anyone expected. Because her legacy, for me, became learning that it's never too late to stand up for yourself and demand to be treated with the respect you deserve. Even if it takes a selfie and a Facebook post to make it happen.